Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back to what we're calling Into the Outer Realms 2.0, new platform, slightly different look to the show, and we have a brand new opening, right?
Yes, we do.
So even though, it's been 6 or 8 weeks that we've been gone off seeing you live, we have been doing our weekly tapings for KGRA and EERT. So this makes now episode 42. And tonight's episode is called Interdimensionals, Missing Time, and Gray Aliens. Never thought I'd say that. In the TNT area of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So let's roll the new opening. It's new music from our son, Jeremy.
That's right.
Composed especially for the show with his friend, Trevor Misplay. So go ahead and roll it, Miss.
Play it.
There exists a realm beyond our wildest dreams, a realm beyond reality that the gatekeepers and guardians have always told us consists of nothing but tricks of the eye, weather balloons, swamp gas, sand cranes, fairy tale myths of monsters, crackpot conspiracy theories, and desperate cries for attention.
We know this realm exists, and it's just beyond the horizon. The preset path, the well-worn walkways where the cynics want us to stay.
Instead, give this a listen. Put on your headphones, adjust your volume, close your eyes, and fasten your mental seatbelts, because the twilight-tinged turnoff from reality's alluring highway is looming just ahead.
We're about to leave the plane of the easily explained, the couldn't possibly be's, and the no way I just saw what I saw's, for the spaces and places where everything is possible, and if you stay long enough, even probable. We're about to take a journey
into the outer realms. All right, so I love it.
I love it too. I love
So
the music
again,
so
that's
much.
our son Jeremy composed the music. A couple of other things. We're on StreamYard now, so of course we're streaming to the Into the Outer Realms page. It's also streaming live to our YouTube page. So if you prefer to do that now or in the future, you can go to my Facebook page. My YouTube page. Got to get used to talking about that. And it's Joey Medea, of course, Madia. Every day is a story all its own, is the tagline. But you'll see me there as Angus the Pirate. So we have a lot to cover tonight. This is, wow, if anybody had told me that we would be talking about this, I would have told them, yeah, I don't think so. So this is interesting. What happened? We've been talking for 11 years, right?
11
We've been talking about the
years.
fact that let's just jump right into it, right? In 2009, in August, we went down to Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It's about 3.5 hours from where we're living right now. As a matter of fact, we were just there this past weekend, and we'll talk about that at the end of the show. But we found out about it because of Mothman Prophecies, the movie.
Yes.
The book is, it's actually in a bag behind me because I'm using it for a couple of research projects I'm working on. But you called me up. I was out doing something or at work, working somewhere, and you said, whoa, the Mothman Museum is only like 3.5 hours away from the house. And I was like, yeah, that's great. I love the movie, but I really don't want to see a museum dedicated to this creature called the Mothman. Now, we've become very fond of the Mothman, and if you follow my Instagram page, Joey Medea, you've seen this guy, or my Facebook page. I got him for my birthday a couple weeks ago, and I've named him Mickey Garuda. For those of you who don't know, a Garuda is a winged creature, often a harbinger of doom or some kind of big event, a change agent, related to the Native American Thunderbird in some ways. Anyway, this is Mickey Garuda and his friend Biggie the Foot that I got when we were down, and they are actually tag team chicken champs. So follow the Instagram page. And behind us, you want to tell them who's behind us right there in between us? That's Eleonora.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I am just terrible with names.
So-
and we just got the name.
Yes, we ran a
So
contest
that's why.
for our new book. If you want to show everybody the new book, I'm
Yes,
super
so
excited.
We're very excited.
It's finally out. We've been talking about it forever. Roommates from Beyond, How to Live in a Haunted Home.
Yes.
It's been out for a couple weeks. It's selling well. It's available on Amazon. We just did a big mailing today.
Yes, we did.
Internationally, the book's going all over the world, so we sent those out, domestic as well. But anyway, we had a naming contest, and our good friend Angelina, who was
I'm sorry, Angelina.
was with the show,
Forgot her
all
name.
42 episodes from the very beginning. Very active in the chat room. Angelina is a kitchen witch.
Yes, she is.
Very talented, sensitive, and she decided to name that alien Eleonora. So we got the whole crew here: Biggie the Foot, we got Mickey Garuda, and we got Eleonora, and we have this story for you tonight. So finally, I gave in after about a year.
Yes, I have to just cut in real quick and say that Mickey Garuda is probably my favorite interpretation of the Mothman.
Yeah, I don't think he would be famous like 60 years later if they called him Mickey Garuda.
No, I don't.
But it works for my application.
Well, and I mean the figure.
Yeah.
I love the name that you gave him as well. But
yes.
the
Yeah,
figure,
look at the detail
there
of
are
this. You can
many-
get them at the Mothman Museum.
Yep.
In Point Pleasant, our good friend Jeff Walmsley. So there he is. But we do have a lot to cover tonight. So let's jump in. So after about a year, I agreed. Okay, let's go down to Point Pleasant. And the town was...
It was like 2 years.
Wow. I'm a hard sell. It was a year to have Jolie. That's what it was. It takes a while, but great things come when I finally say yes, right?
I have good ideas. You need to remember that.
Well, but they take some time for me to mull them over. Very, very logical, exacting person. But anyway, the town is idyllic. It is stuck in time. It has not changed in the 12 years that we've been going there, except that occupancy is up. The town is absolutely thriving.
Main Street is growing. We love to see that.
Right. So definitely go down to Point Pleasant, and we'll have some really cool announcements about Point Pleasant and our ongoing and enhanced relationship with the town and the people there. Oh, probably in the next 6 months for sure. So anyway, so what do we know about Point Pleasant? We know that it looks beautiful. We know that in 1966, in November, so this month, all those years ago, 4 teenagers and a bunch of other people see this winged creature. And this really is a pretty good representation. It's handy, I think, for a lot of applications tonight. But big red eyes, very long wings, sort of a muscular torso, a blackish gray, which this is. It didn't really have a neck. This, if you look at it, has a little bit of a neck, and the face is a little more stylized than what eyewitnesses said, but pretty close. And Point Pleasant sort of, I don't want to say it's Jekyll and Hyde, but at night down at the river, right? So exactly 13 months to the day after the first reported Mothman sighting in Point Pleasant, because in the environs there were others. There were Merrill Partridge's sighting. There were other sightings of this odd winged beast. But 13 months to the day the Silver Bridge collapses.
Right.
And 46 people lose their lives. It still weighs on the town.
Yes.
There is a memorial there. And you can almost see that bridge. You can almost see the specter of it when you look over the Ohio River. And not too far away is the TNT area, which we're going to get into. Very spooky at night. As a matter of fact, this past Friday night, we're with some investigators that you've met them on our show separately, but they'll be joining us at least once a month, if not more. A project we do called the RTC is all we'll tell you for now. But wonderful people, and we were with them this past weekend. We went down to the TNT area probably about 8 o'clock at night. And all of us just felt like it was a dangerous place to be. And nothing to do with the paranormal.
No.
There was someone or something going on that was unsettling us all. So it's this sort of split personality. And what is the TNT area? Well, it is formally called the McClintock Wildlife Management Area, or the TNT area. Why TNT area?
Because during World War II, the military stored munitions and actually there was a factory there where they would make dynamite. So,
yes, the ordnance works.
Yes. And then they would store a lot of munitions and explosives, in these mounds, in these cement like igloos. And then they were covered over with earth to make them just look like natural earthworks, natural features of the land.
Right. In the case of an enemy flyover, which is unsettling there. So the TNT area, it's an August day. It's August 21st, 2009. It's a gorgeous day. Picture puzzle blue sky, very few clouds and white puffy, beautiful, idyllic. So we get down to the TNT area. Now, we had spoken to a man named Bob Landrum, who since passed. My play that's based on Point Pleasant is dedicated to Bob. Bob was wonderful.
He was.
Bob was Elvis meets Johnny Cash, man.
Yes,
he was
really
super cool.
He had
super
that deep
cool
voice.
Yep, had a DA and a bit of a pompadour. If I remember correctly, had the cigarettes, Marlboros rolled
Probably
up in the sleeve.
I don't remember for sure, but I'm guessing there.
And I believe before he opened up his shop, The Point, he was over the road trucker. So just a cool dude. And we had gotten a map from elsewhere. It's on the wall back there, right next to Rosemary's picture, and that's the very one. And Bob said, "Hey, I'll tell you where you really need to go and what you need to do." And there's a ghost of a Native American spirit. There's a legend that was Native American burial ground. Could explain a lot of the paranormal activity. Not confirmed.
Not confirmed.
But there are all kinds of the history with the Native Americans. It's frontier. So the Battle of Point Pleasant, said possibly to be the first battle of the Revolutionary War. Man named Chief Cornstalk was a Shawnee, head of a big confederation, Mingo, Delaware, some other tribes as well. The battle was in October of 1775. Cornstalk was murdered at the fort, the local fort, in 1777. They came through the door and they killed him because his mere presence was keeping the resistance alive. But it was said in a play in the 1800s that before he died, he put this elaborate curse on the land. And that's why the river always flooded and the Silver Bridge disaster and all this. It was simply in a play. But at times, Point Pleasant has felt a little like it had a black cloud over it. But the last 10, 11 years, through the Mothman Festival, the popularity of that draws tens of thousands of people. The Mothman Museum, no matter what time of year you go there, Main Street is full. Cars, people, excited.
People from all over the world.
Yeah, Jeff Walmsley does a terrific job at the museum. It's wonderful. It was recently expanded, I think, a couple of years ago. The tours are amazing. So anyway, and of course, the big festival, which was canceled this year. But hope to see everyone there next year. So we go in to what's called road number 7. And we're walking towards the first igloo, and there's water there. And it's beautiful, but silent.
And we noticed when we were there this past week, and we also were there in the daytime, and you could hear all the sounds over this past weekend. The birds, you could hear the leaves rustling, you could hear insects, you could just hear all the sounds.
We saw an otter playing around.
Yeah. Everything you would expect to hear, but not that day back in 2009.
No, it felt like there were eyes on us. It's like mid-afternoon, sunny, and it's what Keel called the zone of fear, referring to some places in Point Pleasant. It's just, why in this area do I feel like my life is in danger? Why do I feel like something bad is going to happen to me? So it was creepy. And we go to the first igloo. I was barely able to put my hand in and take a picture. We were frightened. Yeah, we were, very, very uneasy. And the stillness, I think, really was a contributing factor, but also and the fact that there's eyes
watched.
Right. Which turns out we were. But we'll get back to that. So we're driving back on Route 62, and we're processing this. We had both read Mothman Prophecies. but really, I don't think had experienced the zone of fear before. So much to process. Like, what is going on here? And then suddenly, about 100 feet in front of us, and probably 8 feet off the road, we see there's cornfields on both sides. As we're going through, we see this thing, and we turn to each other and say, "Did you see that?" If we hadn't, that moment probably would have gone. And our entire lives would be different. We wouldn't be doing this. There'd be no books. Most of the things that you see behind us wouldn't exist in our life. So we see a thing. We drove back to town. I don't know why, but something told us don't describe it to each other, which to this day I find very odd. Because we would immediately process it. This is what I saw. This was what was going on. We did it. We said, hey, let's wait until we can go to a restaurant or something and draw this thing. And we did. And if you have, watch out for the hallway. It's in there. Also, I should say that we're learning StreamYard. And StreamYard works a little different than our old platform, where I could upload photos and just kind of touch them and they would go up. I have to share my screen. It's a little bit clunky. I'm still trying to figure that out. But you can go to my YouTube page, and we did a virtual presentation for the Van Meter Festival on this subject, a little different. And Tanya had not gotten her hypnotic regression yet. I just had gotten mine. But you can see pictures. There's 30 or 40 photos there. So including the sketches. And so I saw it as if a man in a neoprene wetsuit was fired out of a cannon. So it was a long black strip humanoid figure and just kind of looked like it went. And as it got to the cornfield, it blinked out. It didn't go into the corn. It just blinked and gone. For you, a little different.
Yeah, I saw, to me, this figure appeared on the berm, the left-hand side of the road, and it leapt like in a single bound. It moved. It didn't look like a deer, but it moved like a deer in the way that it just kind of gracefully leapt across 2 lanes.
And that deer thing becomes soon.
It does, but no features really. No indication of anything like arms. Definitely bipedal, but it's, other than that, just sort of a humanoid, sort of a shape, and that was it.
And a blink of an eye.
In the blink of an eye.
So that's why whatever compelled us to turn and say, "Did you see that?" I really believe that we wouldn't have said anything. So we get back to town, and Main Street's empty. It's quiet. Now, 11 years ago, it didn't have the capacity that it has now, even in August. But far less cars, and the lights in most of the shops are. So Bob's Shop The Point, which if you go to Point Pleasant now, it's the coffee grinder. It's on the corner there. His shop is closed. But we see him sort of moving around in the back. So we knock on the door, the glass of the door. And in the meantime, I think you glance at your cell phone.
Right.
And you're like, it's after 5 o'clock.
Right. And we were really confused about that because we had left around 2:30 in the afternoon. And, it's maybe a 10, 15 minutes maximum, probably not 10 minutes most out to the TNT area. We couldn't have been there more than 15 minutes because we felt so
We
uneasy.
actually did an experiment this past weekend, and these numbers are right.
Yeah. So let's say that's half an hour, 15 minutes back, or you have 45 minutes, but no, 2 hours and 45 minutes had gone by.
Right. So we tell Bob what happened, and I give him my business card. And he says, I know these paranormal investigators, Tim and John Frick, and I'd like to tell them your story. They keep up with all of this in Point Pleasant. So we say, okay, that's great. And we go about our lives. We finish out the weekend. We loved Point Pleasant, but we move on. And it's a couple months later. We're leaving a Walmart in West Virginia, in Morgantown. and my cell phone rings, and I don't recognize the phone number, but I answer. This is before the days, I guess, when you still answered your phone even though you didn't know the number, and it was John Frick. So John says, we heard your story and would really like to meet you in Point Pleasant and kind of see where you saw it and talk to you. Well, that was kind of a thrill that paranormal investigators wanted to. Little do we know that they'd become some of our closest friends in the entire world. So we do. We go down that following November, and that's where we meet Rosemary Ellen Guiley, our dear friend who became our mentor, our publisher, who's still with us, guiding us, and whose standards we're trying every day to live up to. And we, and again, there's a bunch of pictures on that YouTube video of our experiment and going through. And then the following year, there were some other investigators who also got involved. It's in a number of books, our story. A lot of people vetted it. Rosemary thought that maybe there was a portal because there were some weird things that we realized in November. One of them was that I could swear that there was a gas station between where we were and town. I remember the colorful triangular pennons all around. I remember sort of older style pumps, which I thought was interesting, but not real unusual because it is a town that's stuck in time. And there was no gas station. There is no gas station. There never has been a gas station on this plane, in this reality, there.
In that spot. Yeah, there are gas stations, but not there.
And then how about the cornfield?
We both remember a cornfield on both sides of the road, and there's no way that could have been the case.
No.
On the side of the road that we saw the we're going to call it interdimensional. That's what we've been calling it all these years. The interdimensional just sort of manifested and appeared. We saw a cornfield there, but when we went back, there's a house there, and just a big open field. And the house is an old house. It's been there, so there's no way there was a cornfield.
Right, no, but there is a copse of trees next to it. And Rosemary had gotten out her equipment, things that we have learned to use now, like EMF meters and things like that. And she was pretty sure that there was a portal. Now, there's the American Electric Power Plant that's sort of right across from that area. So that power plant could be juicing it if there is a portal in that area. Now, while I'm thinking about it, folks, I have to try to find comments. Sorry. StreamYard 3Beard. Oh, what's going on, our friends 3 Beards? Love the lights. Thank you so much. Millie, hello.
Hi, Millie.
We haven't seen Millie in a while. We were on an investigation and did a clearing with Millie a couple years ago. Hey, Mark. Thanks for the easy show prep for Tuesday. Oh, cool. Yeah. Is it Tuesday? Yeah. Tuesday we're on with Mark Eddy on Nightlight, 10 to midnight. That's going to be awesome. Okay, so now we're in this room here. So I apologize. It took us a little. So it took much longer than it actually took. So we do all this and we become friends with these people. We become paranormal investigators, web library, all of this kind of stuff. We talk often about the over 2 hours of time, and there's a typo in Watch Out for the Hallway. And somehow we missed it, the proofreader missed it, the publisher missed it. It says that there were 45 minutes of missing time. We were actually gone for 45 minutes. It was 2 hours and 45 minutes. We never really thought about it.
Well, we were gone for 2 hours and 45 minutes, but we should have been gone for 45 minutes.
And right, exactly. And so we're doing a show with our friend Commander Cobra, right? Task Force Griffin, about little more than a year ago. And he says, have you ever considered regression hypnosis? And we said, no, but that would be interesting. So we started to kind of put the word out and keep our eye out. You have to be really careful with that. There are a lot of people who lead the witness, so to speak, which I distrust. They ask leading questions, in other words. There's also, in cases of regression hypnosis, of implanting ideas through suggestion. So you need to be really careful. So we were overly cautious. But Tanya, you this year got your certification in hypnosis.
Yep.
And now you have a subspecialty that you just got from the Edgar Casey Foundation.
Past life regression.
In past life, right? A higher soul and this kind of thing and missing time, which you're working with clients now, which is awesome. So we have an opportunity to do it. We have an opportunity to do it in August 2020. So here it is, exactly 11 years to the month and within a few days of when it actually happened. And I have this opportunity to undergo regression hypnosis. Now, I want to say that I got mine in August. Yours was in October.
Yes. October.
Before we said publicly anything to anyone, we had at least a half a dozen highly respected paranormal researchers listen to the audio tapes, speak with us about it, kind of vet it, try to pull it apart. And everyone felt that there's something to this. There were no really red flags. And so we did do the Van Meter presentation talking about it. But tonight, for the very first time, we're revealing what happened to Tanya, which sheds a lot of light on what happened to both of us. And I still feel super odd talking about this.
I do too.
But here we go. So, so I'm taking into, for those of you who don't know, you're awake. You know what's going on. You can come out of it at any time. I never felt like I was in any danger. Now, twice in my life previous, I had undergone regression hypnosis for a couple of things in my life that were traumatic enough. Yeah, popcorn is optional. You might want it. It gets pretty interesting, and we'll probably sell it pretty well too. So yeah, fire up that popcorn, folks. To unlock some trauma, to relive some days and make peace with some things, so I could continue to develop, as a person. So I go through the process. I had also I was having a hard time with work several years ago and worked with a regression hypnotist. So I'm back. We talk to Bob. We drive. I'm approaching the first igloo, and my heart is beating. It's really, really beating hard because of this whole zone of fear thing. Feeling what in my solar plexus is just lit up, as it often is. I'm kind of the human EMF meter, and I get barely my arm in to take a photo. I'm right there with it, and I know that I'm being watched. And suddenly I realize in the woods that there is something there. And it is like a satyr. It has horns. It has antlers. It has owl eyes. The owls are not what they seem. Whitley Strieber, Twin Peaks. This idea that aliens mask themselves by appearing as innocuous animals, deer, owls, whatever. So it's this deer sort of creature standing up, and it's watching me. Now, I know instinctively that this thing is super old, like ancient, and it starts moving backwards deep into the woods. And what's interesting is it was right in the spot where we left sage. Bob Landrum had said, because of the Native American spirits, you really should bring some sage as an offering. There's something we were familiar with, so we had left a sage bundle. So it's the thing we saw. I instinctively know that. And it's a revelation on the audio of the regression. This is it. Oh my gosh, this is it. And I'm gonna make you wait before I reveal what this thing looked like. And it kind of moves like Spring-Heeled Jack, which leapt buildings in England. And nobody knew why. It was weird, but had this springing ability. And so it went over the road like it had gone deep into the woods, and it was going to meet us. And it sprung from the side of the road, very much like what you had said, like a deer-like thing, and it blinks out. This is where it gets odd. I'm going to take a quick drink here because my throat is... The car that we're in, which was a Ford Explorer, begins to spin around like a kaleidoscope, like a merry-go-round, like teacup saucers, anything like that. The car is spinning around, spinning around, spinning around, spinning around. It's like we're caught in a vortex or a tornado. Now, is the car literally spinning around? No. But that's the sensation. Somehow something is going on. And we closed our eyes to keep from throwing up, right? It's this centrifuge kind of thing. And suddenly there's complete darkness. So I'm thinking in terms of a filmmaker. It's like where something happens to someone, they're knocked out, or I remember, it's famous at the beginning of Lost. There's the plane crash, and then it's black, and we see from the point of view of the person, and it's Jack, right? It's the first like shot, I think, after the plane crash, and that's what it was like. And it's darker than night, like the complete absence of light. But the eyes open, and what do I see? I see this red barn, and it's got white trim. It's very much the trope of a red barn with the white trim, the cross hatches on the hatches up in the loft, the double doors. It's idyllic, but it doesn't look like it's real. Almost like the lake or the pond or whatever it is by the igloos. It looks beautiful, but why is there no wildlife? Why is there nothing? It's kind of like that. But this is like a Technicolor movie set. Like think Wizard of Oz, and I think of the Wizard of Oz a couple of times. So I get out of our car, and I'm looking at this barn, and I realize that if I look to the right or I look to the left, even if I strain my peripheral vision, things go fuzzy and they sort of get black and undefined again. So there's definitely something going on here. So past the barn, all of a sudden now there's this dairy tower, and it's like brand spanking new. It's silver, steel, or whatever material would be, but it's silver, it's domed, it's beautiful. But there's no cars, there's no trucks, there's no farm equipment, there's no animals, right? No horses, no cows, no pigs, no ducks, no chickens, nothing. But this barn, and now there's this dairy tower. Totally idyllic. Then I realize there's someone with us. We're not alone here. And there are spindly, thin arms that sort of come around like this, and all I see is them. And they're 3 fingers, and they're long, and they have like bulbs on the end, and they're jet black. It made me think of when we used to put black olives on our fingers on holidays when we were kids, these distinct bulbs on the ends of the fingers. And I know the beings are black. They're jet black. That's all I know. And that there's 5 of them, but I can't see them other than these arms. So now we're walking. They're kind of guiding us along, and the space is pretty. It's outdoors, but it's definitely a controlled environment. I mean, it's too gorgeous. The flowers, the pristine white split rail fence, the trees, the shapes of the branches, the symmetry of we were traveling down to Point Pleasant, and there are these beautiful, very round trees, and they have brilliant orange leaves, and I'm not a tree guy, so I don't know specifically what they were. But the interesting thing is, invariably on one side, it's kind of like chopped up or not quite round. The symmetry is disturbed. Not in this case. Everything is perfect. So it's like the yellow brick road in Oz, where they're going down right before the apple trees come to life, and just everything is just like that. And so we come to more woods. Now,
I want to ask real quick, just the viewers, because
yeah.
I know. So you talk about us walking, and at this point, are you able to see me?
No, but I know you're there.
Okay.
I know you're there, but I can't see you. All I can see is this Technicolor set, like I'm on this movie set. And this set is supposed to keep me occupied. It's supposed to keep me busy. It's supposed to keep my intention. Now, all of a sudden, there's a bridge with a babbling brook. So it's almost like a holodeck kind of thing. And we have spoken with some colleagues who had some similar things. And this holodeck idea is really, really interesting. So anyway, these beings who I can't really see, they're annoyed because I'm noticing that it's not real. I'm daring to question. It's not keeping my my attention like it's supposed to. They want me to just enjoy it and stop my questions. Now, you've been with me. That's just not something that I do. I'm always asking lots of questions, and I'm very engaged what we're doing, even if I am enjoying myself. Now, all of a sudden, we're in this disc-shaped object, and now this thing is spinning. Now, it could be that that's what we were in and not the car at all, but we're in this thing. It's making me nauseous again. It's like being centrifuged, And as it slows down, it starts to tilt. Like it keeps its balance almost like a top, that when it goes very fast, it keeps straight, but it's starting to, as it's slowing down, it's starting to tip. And that's now where I see this gas station. White and red pumps, the triangle flags, they're blue, yellow, red, green, white, blue, yellow, red, green, white, burned into my brain, the pattern. And there's a sign, Sonny's Garage. Now, this is speculation, of course. But when I was in middle school, about 10, 11 years old, what I wanted to be was an auto mechanic. That's what I wanted to be more than anything else. Wanted to work on cars. I always worked on cars with my dad. By the time I was in high school, I was trying to convince him to lend me the money to restore a 57 Chevy Impala. I just love those cars. And so Bel Air, 57 Chevy Bel Air.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Thinking,
67 Impala Supernatural. It's on the shelf there behind me with Dean and Sam. But anyway, 57. So that was it. I used to read Chilton repair manuals for fun. I had my own set of tools. And so I take an aptitude test in middle school. And guidance counselors sit me down real serious and say, that's not for you. That's for the kids who can't go to college. You're supposed to go to college. Forget about this. Forget about this. I've always kind of resented that.
It's ridiculous.
So I really kind of think, yeah, and I've counseled a lot of kids, as a mentor over the years.
Smart to be a mechanic.
Yeah, you do, especially, computers and, but I wanted that. I wanted my knuckles busted and my hand, grease under and have my own garage. Now, my nickname is not Sonny, but anyway, it's Sonny's Garage. So I'm trying to find my place here. So next thing we know, now we're back in the car. And it's transparent, like Wonder Woman's airplane. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at the transmission. I'm looking at the engine, which, hey, for a guy who wants to be a mechanic, being able to watch the tranny go. Now, my college roommate, Chuck, who designed the cover of the book and did a sketch of this being I saw, which we're going to reveal in a little bit. Chuck had an old bombed out Volkswagen Beetle when we were in college, and you could see through the floorboards because they were rotted out, as often happens in the Volkswagen Beetle, and you could watch the tranny. But I'm seeing the whole show here as we're going. And as we get closer to town, it's becoming more and more and more solid. So finally, I remember that we were in town. So in talking to colleagues, in sort of processing what I was saying, it seems that they were curious as to why we were tapped into them, why we noticed them, why we sensed their presence, and why we noticed them energetically. So they seem to go, let's see if they can see us. They can feel us. Let's see if they can see us. So this thing blinks over the road and we can see it. So then they decide to do a series of other psychological tests. And we think that's what was going on. And it's very interesting to me. I listen to it all the time. On the audio, I keep going, not a good candidate, not a good candidate, not a good candidate. No further tests. He notices and remembers too much, not a good candidate. Now, I remember being very sick with kidney stones 25, 26 years ago, and I had to get a colonoscopy. And I was so enamored of the idea of seeing my insides on television that they couldn't give me enough anesthesia to knock me out. And they were concerned, like, just go to sleep, Mr. Medea. There's nothing you want to see. No. What the heck? What are the chances to see your insides on TV? And it was the same way when I got my lithotripsy. You go into this trailer and they sit you in the water and they beam you with sound waves to break up the kidney stones. And I was like, whoa, man, this is like the inside of the Millennium Falcon. And again, I didn't want to go to sleep. And they were upset. So it was the same kind of thing. Not a good candidate. Not a good candidate.
Well, what you were saying about the
I'm so sorry, folks.
the colonoscopy makes me think of Rob Reiner. What movie is it? The Story of Us?
I'm not sure.
When he's I don't want to. Never mind. Okay, just never mind.
If you couldn't tell a story, you should finish it.
He says, my ass was on TV today. Remember?
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, no, this
I
wasn't. This was my whole, digestive system. It was very interesting. I still remember they give you a little picture. which I would show people. Weird. I wouldn't do that today.
That is a little weird.
But anyway, the gas station was supposed to keep me occupied while Tanya was gone, whatever they were doing with her, and you'll tell them about that. And the transparent car, same thing. Keep my attention, fascinate me, because the the regression therapist says to me, "How about Tanya? Was Tanya a good candidate?" And I go, "Oh yeah, she's a good candidate." I think it hurt my feelings a little.
Because as we noticed at the beginning of the show, I do not remember details like our kids for.
Yeah, shiny thing. But it's an interesting thing to kind of overlay this with data and with history and research and all those things that we love to do. In the Juan Perez case in 1978 in Argentina, what he saw, Jacques Vallée, who wrote Passage to Magonia, Masters of Deception, a very wise man who Francois Truffaut, his part in Close Encounters of the Third Kind is on Jacques Vallée. Anyway, Jacques Vallée feels that these beings come from a parallel dimension. And I believe that that's where we were. Mm-hmm. We were in a parallel dimension. We were not taken up to a spaceship or anything. This was not Alvin Parker, none of that kind of thing. We were in a parallel dimension. And they use a combination of the contactee's own mental images, explains the garage, pulling that very, very strong memory of wanting to do that. Now, out in the country with Barnes, all that, I do love the country, but not strong enough. Still kind of unsure about that. And then they use their own technology and abilities on a display. And this certainly falls under Vallée's theory about what's going on. So, like I said, as we get toward that, the Lars solidifies. Tanya's there beside me. I recognize everything. When we get home, within a couple of days, there is a couple of synchronies. So we're sitting back here in Ohio, and we see smoke above the tree line. And so I go down to the edge of the property, follow the smoke into the woods, and I find out my neighbor's property. Now, they had just bought the house, and they were doing a slow burn brush clearing. That's what it was. But I noticed, and we've been here over 2 years, I noticed that there was sort of a miniature of that barn on their property. It's a shed, but it's a red shed with the white cross with a second floor door. It was really, really something. I come in the house from that experience and grab my phone, go to Facebook, and right at the top, someone had posted a picture, digital art enhanced. And it's a white split fence, and it's the beautiful flowers, and it's the symmetrical trees, and it's exactly what I had seen. So those were interesting, I think, confirmations. So are you all ready to see the thing that I saw? Now, Chuck does the covers for all of our books. Show them the cover for Roommates again. Chuck does such an amazing job.
He is. He's an amazing artist.
So Chuck has interest in the paranormal. He's someone that I trust. And Chuck last year was on Dead Files with Amy Allen. He was a sketch artist for a case that they did in Pennsylvania. So now Chuck has some experience with these kinds of things. So I send the audio file to Chuck, and the whole thing from induction to the actual experience to the outro is, I think, 42 minutes. I say, hey, if you have some time and you're curious, this is interesting, but see what you think of the being. So a couple days later, he sends me this. And this is what I saw. Now, Chuck did a great job, but let me just say a couple things here. The eyes were even a little more owl-like, and I think that the eyes were the only thing that was genuine, right? Eyes are the window to the soul. There's the whole thing about the black-eyed kids, whatever construct they're putting around themselves to appear human. The eyes really tell the truth. That's the way I felt. The eyes were the salient, very much like alien gray kind of thing. Remember that I said that. But here is this thing. It was absolute haunting. And you'll notice the fingers that Chuck he heard me talk about it, so he sketched them. Remember that too, and I'll show it at the appropriate time. The long fingers with the bulb. So there's that. And And it reminds me, I have always been fascinated with the Lascaux paintings from France, or Trois Frères, really. Very, very ancient, of the elk shaman man. And I'm wondering if it is the same being and they misinterpreted, right? The whole ancient astronaut theory. We're getting really deep diving into that. In 2021, I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of episodes about these kinds of things. I just read a fascinating collection of John Keel's articles for Saga magazine in the 1970s. If you're skeptical about ancient alien theory because of Giorgio and the crew on History Channel, there were people who were doing it prior to Von Daniken. Tom DeLonge now is talking in terms of the Bible, ancient astronaut theory. Coast to Coast is having people on talking about UFOs and the Bible. This is really coming back into legitimacy. So I think that's maybe what was going on. So if you want to, Tanya, now talk about your regression, and I'll be quiet because my voice is about spent.
Sure. So as we mentioned in October 10th, actually, I had the opportunity to get regressed. And as often happens, what I experienced during the regression, while similar to what Joey's experience was also different. So, so we use the same induction script that was used for Joey. And the same type of thing. We start in Bob's store, get in the car, we drive to the TNT area, and I am noticing, just like we did when we were actually there, this sense of being watched. And I'm able to psychically, or just kind of in my mind's eye, get this impression of what it is that's watching us. And it's this dark gray, humanoid, bipedal figure with wings, very much like the descriptions of Mothman from the 1960s, although I'm not seeing the big, like, red, sort of like bicycle reflector eyes. I'm not seeing that, but I am seeing dark gray, almost black creature with wings watching us. And I feel like that's definitely where this sensation, very similar to that. The body was different. Of course, I didn't notice hands or fingers or anything like that. I just basically got the sense of the wings, the body shape. It was more muscular than that.
Don't have your feelings hurt, Mickey Garuda.
Yeah, sorry, Mickey Garuda. He was a little more muscular.
Like Mothy back there with his six-pack, as Craig from Three Beards has pointed out on other shows.
Yeah, more like here.
He rocks the six-pack.
More like this, except for, again, the face. Obviously, this is a gargoyle, but everything about it was like this except the face, the head. And it wasn't really getting distinct facial features. Again, more just like generalities, right? So I noticed that we're being watched by this thing, and, we go to the igloo. We're very reluctant to do it. Noticing Joey being nauseous. He puts the camera inside, takes a picture, just like, we remembered consciously. And then I get pulled to this area between the first and the second igloos. And that's where, did we talk about how we had purchased some sage?
Yeah,
like a
from Bob.
Stick
yep,
from
and
Bob.
left it right where the being was standing. Yeah.
And so I left that as an offering. I said a little prayer, and we're on our way to the guardrail. And it feels like the being's gone now. It doesn't, it doesn't feel so strongly that we're being watched. I get a sense that it's gone deeper into the woods. It's further away from us. So now we're driving back toward town. We're not saying much, except, I just got, this crazy ringing. Started in my left ear and then in my right ear.
It's not the broadcast because I didn't hear it. So that was just
almost
for you.
Like when you do the binaural. Not exactly like binaural beats, but more like a hemisync where you have two slightly different tones and then they turn into one.
You know
tone.
what? When we drove past our viewing site this past weekend, remember, I got those two sharp, like electric volts
That's
shot
right.
this part of my head right here. So odd. Someone knows we're talking about this.
So we're in the car, we're driving back, we're talking about that was really weird. It was a beautiful scenic, place, and why did we feel so weird? And then all of a sudden everything just goes black, just total blackness. And I just feel like I'm suspended in this blackness. I get a sense like off to the right, that there are lights. I'm not so much seeing them again. I'm more like getting an impression in my mind's eye. I'm sensing like red, blue, white lights, and there's this beeping pattern, and the lights are going with the beeping noises that I'm hearing. And then I get a sense of a being there, and again, I can't see it, but I get a sense that it's trying to stay out of my line of sight. Then I just kind of get part of the head and face. I just kind of can see like this much of it, and I just see this eye, which I'll talk about in a minute. So it actually, the eye that I'm seeing is more like a gray alien, but not. So it kind of comes in and out of my vision, and I can see part of it, and then I cannot move. I'm just totally suspended in this blackness, just floating there. Then I notice that the being is holding this box, and I can see it now, and it has very long fingers, very much like what Joey described, just these long spindly fingers with bulbous kind of tips, and it's holding this box, and the hands are sort of like frog-like, like a tree frog, like suction cuppy kind of tips of the fingers. It begins scanning me with the box, and the person who was doing the regression asked, how do you feel? Are you afraid? And I wasn't afraid at all. I just felt totally neutral. There was just no fear, no, if anything, just like a curiosity, like what's going on. And then I kind of start rotating forward, almost like, I'm completely vertical, but my body just starts rotating forward, feet overhead type of thing. And then all of a sudden there's a sound, and I hear like something dragging, like maybe like feet, but I just hear something dragging, and I notice all of a sudden now it's light. I see the ground, and it feels like I'm either floating or being sort of drug over this ground. And I notice that I'm in the woods, and the dirt that I'm seeing, because I'm looking down, is covered with this fine layer of like almost like mulch. And the whole thing is just kind of like a set. I get a sense that it doesn't go on, like if I'm in the woods, it doesn't go on, and then there's a town over there, and something else over there. It's just like contained, like self-contained, these woods. It's like autumn, the trees, the leaves all have color. But it definitely feels like some sort of set or limited space. Then I notice that there's a dog, like off to my right, just down a little bit, and I look, and it's kind of like a yellow lab, but smaller, but not like a puppy. So it was just kind of strange. There's also, what I'm noticing right in front of me is like there's a steep bank, and down at the bottom of the bank is some kind of water, whether it's a river, stream, not sure. I couldn't really see, but I got a sense of there being water down there. And so I'm just kind of standing there wondering, like, how did I get here? What am I doing here? And then off behind me, sort of over my left and like behind, I hear this howling. Like it sounds like, I don't know, it made me think of Bigfoot. I don't know, it could just be my fascination with Bigfoot in the woods, but I hear this very loud, it sounds like it's coming from a very large creature, whatever it is. And again, I'm not afraid. I'm just like confused, like, how did I get here? What am I doing here? Next thing I know, everything goes black again. And the gray, like being, there's more than one now, these gray sort of like beings are around me. They're running this box with the lights over my body. And again, the regressionist asked, are you feeling afraid? I was like, no, I'm just kind of getting impatient. Like, I'm just getting
so
a little tired of this now, getting a little long. So, and again, I'm floating. And now I'm sort of like floating, in a standing position, and I start moving forward. And I notice that I'm moving toward this door. Seems metallic, looks metallic. And then it's, sort of like circular, and it feels like the opening. And then I get the sense, I'm sorry, the door wasn't circular, but I felt like the space that I was in was like circular. So like I was in some sort of circular craft or room or something, all felt metallic. And so I start moving through the door. And then the next thing I know, I'm back in the car. And it was kind of odd because it was like when you pause a movie and you press play and things start moving again. And so as like the play gets pressed and things start moving again, that's when we see the being leap over the road. And just as we do, when you go really fast, like up a hill and then down a hill and your stomach kind of drops out, that's the sensation that I got. It was like this really fast, like feeling of going up and down. And then I realize that the being that we just saw leap across the road is the same being that was watching us at the TNT. Although when it leapt across the road, there were no wings. But right. I just sort of instinctively or intuitively know that it is the same being. And I also get the sense that they're not the same, like the beings with the boxes and the lights that sort of resembled gray aliens. They are not the same beings as what we saw leap across the road.
Right.
But they're somehow connected. They're aware of one another. And I got the sense, as the regressionist was asking me questions, it was more like they saw an opportunity and they took advantage of the opportunity. Whether it was some sort of wrinkle in time space, or because it was the portal, or a combination of the fact that we noticed the being and there was a portal, or whatever it was, but they were able to take advantage of this opportunity and use us like lab rats.
Right.
So,
now,
but not in it, but it never felt malicious.
No.
It just felt more like, oh, let's just see what these
sort of a psychological
humans,
experiment.
Yeah, how they respond.
So you want to show your sketch?
Yes. So I have to say, unlike Chuck, I am not an extraordinary artist. So it's very cartoony. But oops. Let me try and get him in here where you can see. So there's his little box and his 3 like bulbous frog-like fingers. And I didn't really get the head. The head isn't really quite right. The eyes are kind of close.
But let's hold these side by side. You're gonna have to help me here. The eyes I'm mostly interested in. Similar enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that makes a weird case. I'm not sure. And you say too, you're hedging your bets about gray aliens, and I think that's wise.
Yeah, because I want to say something else too. Like, this is more gray than what actually was experiencing regression. I didn't get like, this part of the head was way more sort of bulbous. I just wasn't able to capture it. So the shape of the head here is very much like what you think of a gray alien, but it really wasn't. It was more.
It always reminds me
on this part.
It almost reminds me that what you're describing is the Aleister Crowley thing.
Yeah, sort of like
Iwas or lamb.
Lamb. Mm-hmm. It was right?
Or like a science fiction movie where they have the giant.
It reminded
brains.
me of sort of like the Mars Attacks, right. But not, because it wasn't like a brain. But yeah, right. It was very sort of big and bulbous above the top.
But the odd thing about all of that is the idea of these 3 fingers. And I was, when this came from my birthday, and again, I'm trying to the hand. I'm doing a terrible job here, but it's 3. There you go. 3 fingers. Just so weird. 3 long fingers.
Yeah.
So I did some research after your
But you
regression.
got him after, obviously.
Right.
After we
Yes,
did
in
this.
November for my birthday. I did some research, and a lot of descriptions of these gray aliens are these frog-like hands with these suckers or bulbs on the end and 3 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
So there are these weird overlaps. But anyway, so like you said, it felt like rats in a maze, some kind of behavior study, which is different than other people's experiences. No needles in the abdomen or anything like that. And it didn't, I am comfortable saying that we're contactees. I do not feel like we're abductees.
Mm-mm.
There was never any sense of being there against our will.
Right. Like I said, I wasn't afraid. I was just more like, can we get on with this?
So, right. And me was like, yeah, you're not fooling me with this set. So maybe neither one of us were great candidates for that. But of course, since that point now, your skills are just tremendous as a medium, as a psychic, as a healer, as all of these kinds of things, as is often the case. Keel talks about it a ton in the literature, and other people do, that after these kinds of experiences, there are these enhanced
It's a really good point, because it was around the same time that I got my Reiki training, right? So I always attributed, my starting to see spirits and communicate with them with the Reiki attunements. And it could be, but it certainly could be whatever this experience was.
And on our radio only show that was on KGRA last Tuesday, we talked about the house that we live in now and closing a portal. And these celestial light beings were using a box that created this purple light. So you kind of have the theme. If you could show your picture again.
Yeah, it was actually, the box they were using wasn't exactly like this, but it was similar. It was
so there are
color,
those boxes, right?
Size.
Parker and Hickson talks about this thing, looked like a deck of cards out of the ceiling, and was sort of scanning them. So there are these boxes that turn up as well. And
you saw the sort of like Men in Black guy with the box, with the black box.
Oh yes, in the car, right? That's in Roseberry's books, Roads to the Strange.
Road to Strange.
Yeah, the Roads to Strange. Jolie and I were driving back from Point Pleasant, and a weird thing, this guy in a Geo Storm going well over 100 miles an hour, no way, no features on the car, and this guy has this almost like a freak box held up to his face. Very odd. So anyway, we're kind of coming to the end of this, but so we're turning down Main Street.
So we get back.
You realize something.
Yeah, so we get back, we park at the Low. Of course, we go to Bob's, go to the Point. We realize what time it is. We're confused. We talk to Bob. And we decide, after we talk to Bob, that we're going to go to this restaurant down right there on Main Street and talk and share what we saw, but also draw. That was the key for us. We still think that was so odd for us at the time to go, don't tell me what you saw, we'll draw it, and then we'll compare notes. So we're talking about how we're going to do that. But we were staying in the Low Hotel, which is diagonal from Bob's shop. So we're going to the hotel, and I notice during the regression, the being is on the roof of the Low Hotel. And I just see it up there, and it's watching us.
And really unexpected.
Really unexpected, because, well, of course, none of this did I remember, either of us did we remember consciously. So there it is on the roof, and it watches us, and then it flies off over the river toward Gallipolis. So Joey and I were still in like a trance-like state. This is, coming to the end of the regression. We go inside the hotel. There's no one in the lobby. And we're just kind of talking again. What was that we saw? And since then, we've had so many experiences. At
we have.
TNT.
So,
and that was the end of the regression.
Right.
Say.
So while we talk about some of the other experiences that we've had in Point Pleasant in the 11 years since, up until just 5 days ago, we wanted to make sure to go down there prior to this show and do some experiments and do some other things. We'll be talking about that. But please, in the chat room's live. If you have questions about those experiences, thoughts, similar experiences, anything like that, please put them up and we will address them before we say good night. So, yeah, we've had lots of other experiences in the TNT over the years. For the first several years between Igloo 2 and Igloo 3, I would light up like a pinball machine, my nervous system. My solar plexus, I would dry heave sometimes when the energy was really strong. And people would kind of gather and watch as I went between the second and third igloos. Then, and I can't remember if it was 2011 or 2012, an igloo exploded on that road, right? Some powder that was being stored there got wet, had a reaction, blew the thing sky high, the roof off it, and everything kind of changed there.
Yeah, the energy did change there.
Yeah, and then you want to tell them about the shadow person that you and Rosemary saw the one night down there?
Yeah, so that was probably, we have to look at our notes because I'm for some reason not remembering if it was 2011, but I want to think that it was 2011.
We went down on November 11th, 2011,
right,
and stood inside igloo number 2 at 11:11 at night.
Right, that I know.
We did that with the fricks and all.
I don't.
It was either that year or the year after.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was that year. But anyway, we were walking back from the igloos, and Rosemary and I both very much start to get a sense that we're being watched. And as we're walking, there are woods off to the left. And we're sensing, and we're both seeing it in our mind's eye, this sort of like shadow-like being following us all the way through the woods. And we both described the same, just this sort of like shapeless black kind of figure just following us all the way back to the guardrail.
Right. And we've seen a black mass there, sentient. When we stopped, it stopped and started, no. When we would walk, it would stop. And when we turned around to look at it, it would start to move closer, as if just turn around and keep walking and don't look back and we'll be fine. Otherwise, we're going to get closer to you. We have a colleague who had some kind of black mass or shadow pass through him in one of the igloos. It shook him up for several days. Other people have recorded images, EVPs. We've gotten some very weird EVPs in the igloos. Then in the 2018, that was the sentient one. And it was us and 2 or 3 colleagues all saw this thing, almost like if you know the Predator movie, how the Predator is sort of the shimmering effect as it's cloaked. That's what it was like. And we all saw it in the tree line. And it was large.
Fast enough that day.
So speaking of that, last year, 2019, September, I'm speaking at the festival. We had spoken in 2018. I spoke in 2019. You had a vending table. You had just launched your business, Outer Realms Bathworks, with Emily. And you didn't want to go to the TNT area.
No, because of the time before. I really felt like we were in, mortal danger. And no, I don't think anyone else was feeling it as strong. I mean, certainly nobody was liking it. But I don't know if my imagination got carried away or whatever with the feeling I was having. I seriously could not get out of there. And I wouldn't go back for a while.
Right. Well, this was the first time you've been back.
I've been back since
so
then.
14 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the TNT area has a lot of lore. It's always been a hangout for teenagers. The igloos are full of graffiti. Some of it is wonderful and great and artistic. Some of it is very, very dark. Increasingly, we have found some evidence down there of dark arts things going on. We've heard of other people trying to do ceremony down there. This is the danger with any kind of well-known or infamous place. It attracts all kinds of people. It has very, very strong energies. And there are some people who want to try to control those energies or enhance them, all those kinds of things. So we think maybe the Black Mass was related to that. Certainly this where it is in relation to some things that have happened there. So there's a photo anomaly of me. And that photo is available on that video on my YouTube channel. And there are, so that was Saturday night of the festival. And there are probably almost a dozen of us in that photo, certainly 8 or 9 people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a black rectangle over my face. I'm in profile, and there's just a black rectangle where my face should be. The shadows, if you look at it, we've had several photo experts and paranormal researchers look at it. Many, no one can explain it. It's almost as if my face was pixelated out of the picture. Now, this becomes interesting because earlier in the day, I had done my presentation and we're sitting at our table.
Mm-hmm.
And as often happens, because we're teachers and authors, people come up and they tell us their stories and they ask for advice or guidance. I think that was part of what led to Roommates from Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Being in that position and wanting to do it responsibly and well and help people. And so a woman is telling us about a vortex on her property. And nasty things are coming through the vortex. There's sort of a rival group who's sort of juicing what's coming through the vortex. And people are getting sick. They're getting cancer. All kinds of bad things happen. Well, at one point, I say something to the woman about the nature of vortexes. And I turn to Tanya, as I often do, to kind of say, right, is that correct? Am I, do I have my facts straight? What do you want to add or correct? And she gets a look on her face that's like horrified, like that. And I say, what?
I think I almost jumped out of my chair.
Yeah,
really.
Tell him.
So Joey turned to me and his irises were red, like I don't know if you can see, like red. And just for a split second. And then they kind of shifted back to their normal color. But just for a second, his irises were completely red. Scared the crap out of me. I've never seen anything like that. And I've seen eyes change while having conversations with people. I've seen their pupils change, but I've never seen somebody's irises change color like right in front of me.
And we're guessing whatever happened with that photo with my face being blacked out probably had to do with whatever was toying with me or trying to pass through or whatever like that. So we're walking along Road 7 to the igloos, this big group of people, and suddenly I hear something coming out of the spirit box, the PSB-11, which we've used for years, and it has a switch to turn it on. And the switch, nope, but the box comes on and it starts talking. Now, luckily, I was running a tape recorder because we were having interesting conversations and I just wanted to monitor for EVPs. And we hear these multi-layered angelic voices. We're here with you. But they're stacked. You can hear multiple voices.
Layers.
So we've played this for a lot of people. They've heard it. One person in particular, we took headphones, put them on his head, didn't tell him what it was, hit play on the digital recorder, and he said, "Oh goodness, that's my dead wife." So in all of these layers of angelic sounding voices, we're here with you, he hears this particular person. Now you automatic write and otherwise communicate with this person, and or the angelic beings often say that we're here with you, or right.
Yeah,
so that was very interesting. So we went back there this past weekend. Friday night, we have the equipment. We're ready to go. I posted on Facebook that we're about to have an investigation. We lasted all of 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to get out there. But we did go the next day. We went to some of the igloos where the energy was particularly dark and heavy. We did several rituals: sage, tobacco, Palo Santo, rosemary, prayer, Reiki symbols, to do whatever we could to try to help re-neutralize the energy in that area. So we've also investigated the old site of the Northern Power Plant, where the Mothman had been seen. We've tried to make communication. I've gotten some interesting communications by the Silver Bridge Memorial. Not saying that we heard from any of the victims of the bridge any more than I'm saying what we saw, that winged being that we saw, that creature, was not Mothman.
Right.
But interesting that it was in that place. So that is the story.
I wanted to, you said something earlier about John Keel talking about the zone of fear.
Yeah.
And I wonder when we were there Saturday night.
Friday night. Saturday we went during the day, didn't we?
No, we didn't go Friday night. We went Sunday.
Oh, we
in
went
the
Saturday
day
night and then
Saturday
went Sunday in
night.
the day. Right. Okay.
If it was something similar to what Keel talks about with the zone of fear, we all felt it like our hackles going up. And yeah, so I don't know.
Four of us in complete agreement. I do
like
not want to be
need
here.
To go right
and
now.
as investigators, we very much wanted to be there. We had drugged all the equipment through the woods and we were ready to rock. And so, as teachers, we say instinct, respect it. If something says to you strongly, if something says to four people equally strongly, you should not be here, don't be there.
And
right?
yeah, and we've been there so many times at night. But anyway.
So with our remaining time here, thank you to everyone who joined us. We think that this Thursday night, 7 p.m., we were previously, as you know, Fridays at 2. It was getting harder and harder to get guests.
Yeah.
We launched the show and then the pandemic happened. Everybody was home. So we had this great streak of guests, but it was becoming harder and harder, 2:00 in the afternoon, right? And we have more and more colleagues from around the world. It's harder to coordinate. So we're going to do Thursday nights at 7. We have some new features coming up, the RTC project, which I think will be very fascinating. We have to give a shout out to our friends at Three Beards, guys.
Yes,
this is
you guys are
7:00 and 8:00, or 7:00 and 8:30 on Wednesday nights EST on their Facebook page, Three Beards. We love these guys dearly.
Yeah.
Respect. They do things the right way. Their guests are phenomenal. Their questions are smart. We've been guests on twice, and we were honored to do that. Mark Eddy, Nightlight, next Tuesday night. Tomorrow night we'll be on ERRT Radio with Ronald Toltevar. That's our second appearance on his show. We're going to be talking about Roommates from Beyond, and I do believe that Angus McGregor is going to be making an appearance by request. And the second hour is going to be a roundtable where I think some very cool people in the paranormal world are going to be dropping in. So you can look for the announcement on that on my Facebook page tomorrow. Again, if you missed this show or you couldn't watch all of it, it will be on the Into the Outer Realms Facebook page, and it should also, fingers crossed, I believe it's also streaming to my YouTube page. So if you would rather do that, you can do that. We have some great guests coming up. The first week in December, we have a super secret surprise guest. We have been trying to get this guest on the show since we launched. They have played really hard to get, but the circumstances have aligned, and we're really excited. It's probably going to be the most popular show of all time. You're going to want to tune in on Christmas Eve. So honored. We're going to broadcast on Christmas Eve, and Nicole Strickland.
Yes, we're
so
excited. She is an author and an expert on the Queen Mary.
Right, docked in California. Super, super haunted. Time magazine at one point called it one of the 10 most haunted places. So we're very excited to have Nicole on the show. And then in February, we're going to be on her show, Afterlife Chronicles. We have some really amazing guests coming up and working on more. We're really excited. The books, Watch Out for the Hallway, Living the Intuitive Life, and Roommates from Beyond are all available on Amazon. So check those out. Please stay in touch. And I think that is everything. Again, thank you to our son, Jeremy, for composing the new music.
Say, if you liked the new music, please check out and follow Medea Music on Instagram.
That's right. And he's got an Etsy page. He makes these really cool handmade pickpockets. There's one. Let me just show you real quick. Proud Papa. If I could stay connected here. If you're a guitar player or you need a change purse or anything like that, these handmade little beauties.
Or if you're looking for that perfect gift,
I got all my
the guitar
and they're all floral patterns. They're wonderful. It's not your typical stuff that you would think with rock music and all that.
He's very particular about the fabric that he chooses. He's going for a certain aesthetic.
So we're very excited.
Lovely.
Tomorrow I will be uploading the new intro to, again, Joy Medea Every Day is a Story All Its Own YouTube channel. So please feel free to share that. Enjoy it. Enjoy the opening. And I do believe that's everything for now. We won't be on the air Thanksgiving night. everybody in all the different ways that we can. I'm sure we'll be Zooming and Skyping with lots and lots of people. So there'll be a replay at KGRA, but tomorrow we're doing Storybook Live, Saturday morning, and we're also taping with K-Town on the X-Files Network next Thursday in the afternoon. Got a bunch of things coming up in January and February. So I believe that's all. I'm really enjoying this platform. It's awesome. Very flawless. And thank you to Craig from Three Beards for suggesting and offering to tutor us through it. And everyone have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next week as we go again into the outer realms, where we'll be talking about past life regression. How does it work, and meeting the oversoul. I think if she has room in her busy schedule, I'm going to try a past life regression with Tanya this weekend. So we'll report on the results of that. Bye, everyone.
Bye.